Welcome everyone. I want to talk to you tonight about how can I help the power of personal engagement. At 15 years old, I knew I was destined for a law enforcement career, servant leadership, and to make a difference in the lives of others. Though some of you may struggle to find your personal or professional fulfillment, I encourage you deeply to think about three main areas. And if you stay focused on these three main areas, you are sure to find success. One of those areas being, know who you are, and you will never be confused by what people say you are. Number two, always do what's right. May your moral compass point true north, and even in times of opposition, you will be rewarded with peace. Number three, always find a way to serve. Always find a way to serve. One of my favorite people, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr., had a famous quote that he said, "All people can be great because all people can serve." All people can be great because all people can serve. Another one of my favorite servant leaders, Cesar Chavez, and what he said is that the end of all education should be service. So I'd like you to focus your attention tonight to 103-and-a-half-year-old Mrs. Eva Salinas, another great example of servant leadership, whom I met at the start of my police career. My life has been enriched because of her, and as well as other community members. She truly emulates a life of service. Mrs. Salinas, won't you join her? She has been a founding member of her church. She had sang in her choir for over 60 years. And she had also been a madrina, or a godmother, to over 200 parishioners. Again, won't you join her? So I watched over her throughout my career, and I would take her meals when she became widowed, and I would also take her home for the holidays when she had nowhere else to go. So sadly enough, 6 months before I was due to retire, my plan was to take my company, my speaker business, global. And Mrs. Salinas suffered a fall, unfortunately. And her brother, her 80-year-old brother, was left to care for her, and it wasn't working. He didn't know if she had insurance. He didn't know where to find her insurance cards or her ID. But the one thing in his own words he said was he knew where to find his trusted Latin police officer. So he called a couple days before Christmas, and he said, "I can't do this anymore. I've told everybody to call you." And he expected that I would fix the situation. So, with deep thought, right before Christmas, I chose to legally adopt her, and it has been a blessing. And she has been a blessing to our community and been able to thrive because of community donations and pro bono medical providers. At 103-and-a-half, she's doing well. So, when I took over her case management, she did not have dentures. She couldn't properly chew. She had lost a significant amount of weight. She didn't have glasses so she could see, and she didn't have hearing aids at all to be able to hear. She also had a bum knee, so she couldn't walk well, and she couldn't say when the last time she had seen one of her medical providers. So I reached out to my medical community friends, thank gosh for the job and having contacts, and asked if they would come on board and help her, which they all jumped at the opportunity to volunteer to take care of her. So I want to thank America's Best Hearing Specialist Darren Dusso, Doctors Andrew Scorafar and Mohammed Arsiwala that still work today for free, optometrist Paul Kennedy and Dick Kerrigan that make house calls, and the dentist Karen Moore. Amazing what can happen, and this is a full circle testament of someone who's lived a life of service and what can happen. So I ask you to please join Mrs. Salinas, and when you reach down in your heart, I want you to think about what this means to you. And I challenge each one of you to go tomorrow and take action and find one person that you can help, because the rewards are altruistic. And when you go on your journeys, whether it be personal or professional, I encourage you to think about what does success mean to you. And I can assure you, service equals success. Thank you.